All right, ladies and gentlemen, guess who's back? Back again. It is your host, Gourd Sauce. And we are at the famous Monaco circuit. And yeah, 10 drivers racing tonight. Not a super large grid, but you know what? 10 drivers who finish the race and don't DNF, and they get top 10 points. So they decided to show up, and they can maximize the points that they can get. Let me just jump into the Zor Comms channel, or not Zor, PRL. No. Here, I usually just start a party with Canuck. All right. So while we're in here, why don't we take a look at the standings? I haven't been here for a couple of races, so I don't really know what's going on with the standings. I do know that Kev King left a while ago, so he's out of the picture. Let me take a look at these standings. So, looking at it, not on track yet, but your championship leader right now, Heinz in the Alpine, came home with a win last week at Belgium and jumped Timgra, who did not race. So Timgra has got some ground to make up if he wants to catch his championship rival. And we go further down the field, Jimmy Pullup as well isn't here. So a top 3 championship contender not racing. Northern Canuck is racing. So he can make some gains on his championship rival as well. Look at Canucks' consistency here. He's got 4 third place finishes, a 6th, and a 4th. So he hasn't finished outside of P6, and he hasn't raced in 2 races, and he's only down 99 points from P1. That shows consistency, ladies and gentlemen. So for Canuck, I mean, I'd say like everyone in Tier 1 and Prem, keep that car out of the walls, and you'll be rewarded. So I do believe Timgra is on a lap. I'm not sure what happened to Tafer. Tafer may have... I think Tafer... Oh yeah, Tafer has a... I believe Tafer has a quali ban, correct? Let me look. Yep, Tafer has a quali ban, so he will not be setting a lap. Timgra 113.1 is your provisional pole lap. I do believe Tier 1 pole was a 110.6. So a little bit off the pace, but I mean, and Tag Delta jumps Timgra by, oh my god, almost 5/100ths. Spread is very close right now. I do believe the Haas of Dookie Hoser just started his lap. Canuck is in, Monkey's in, Heinz has not gone out yet. Interesting. Logan in the Alfa Romeo, I believe he was the substitute full-timer who jumped into Kev King's seat. I haven't been able to commentate on him yet, but we'll see what kind of pace he has. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not used to him. And Camo Banana seems to have had an incident coming out of the penultimate corner, loses a wing. No qualifying lap for him as of yet. We'll jump back on board with Logan. Has not set a lap yet as per usual, so we won't be able to see what his delta is like. But I think we could take a pretty good picture of how his pace is, considering he took those corners very well. Tag Delta in the Williams, nice to see. Gets out of the way properly on a very tight circuit. It's pretty tricky to do. Don't want to be picking up any impeding penalties for no reason. And Logan through the penultimate corner. Through the final corner. Looks clean, a little bit of a bobble. Hugs the wall. And that is your provisional pole of 1:12.8. Logan looking like he's got some pace in this race. We'll keep an eye on him. Everyone else, Hines, Monkey Phil, Northern Canuck, and Sparkplug, all on outlaps. Oh, and Hines, coming out of that swift left-hander out of the chicane, loses his entire front wing, and that is going to cost him some time to set a lap. He's going to have to come into the pit lane, probably going to change the tires that he's on, although he doesn't really have to, but he's going to have to get that wing changed. We'll stay on board with Monkey Phil. I do believe he is the only driver on a flying lap. So let's see what the Aston Martin driver can do. I have noticed, at least I noticed Jesper. Oh, and Timgra decides, you know what? I want my provisional pole back. That is a 1:12.3, jumps the field by 5/10. That is a statement from him. Now he's only about 1.5 seconds off provisional or pole from Tier 1. So what does Monkey Phil got in the tank? Very close to that inside wall, doesn't touch it. Great acceleration out of the chicane. Very tricky left-hander here. You get it wrong, you're in the wall. We saw Hines do it just a lap ago, and that is going to be an invalidation from Monkey Phil, I believe. Unless the invalidation doesn't count because the entire curb counts as track limits, which would make sense on a track like this. It doesn't look like he invalidated. Full throttle. It's going to be a slower lap, a 1:15.9. I'm sure Monkey might... I think he's got more in the tank, though. Monkey Phil's a very quick driver. Northern Canuck is on a lap. We'll stay on board with the Williams driver. Like I mentioned, his consistency very strong, so he's very much in contention to win, or, you know, podium at least. He's gotten podiums in 5 of his 6 races, I believe, so... And I say that's a commentator's curse. Northern Canuck misses his braking point in the penultimate corner, hits the wall, and actually continues the lap. His lap was that good that he almost beat... Oh! And Canuck retires! We caught that on stream. Canuck just misses the braking point, had a damaged wing, and he is out. I was going to suggest that I feel like Northern Canuck should have come into the pit lane when he got that damage, but he decided to finish the lap and then retires. Unfortunate for the Williams driver. That's, I think that's a commentator's curse if I've ever seen one. Sparkplug does seem to have just finished a lap, a 1:13.6. Hines is on his out lap. Well, actually, Camo Banana's just about to finish his lap, a 1:15.1. Jumps Dookie, Northern Canuck, and Monkey Phil. Pretty solid result for the Alfa Romeo driver, but I do believe Camo is a reserve driver, so he's not the regular. So we have 1 retirement, 1 crash on track. So we've got 8 drivers left in this Monaco qualifying session, and I just read that it is a wet Tier 2 race. Oh boy. That is gonna... If Monaco wasn't spicy enough for you guys, it's gonna be spicy now. A wet race. Qualifying is gonna be big here. You do not want to get caught behind anyone who is slower than you. Tac Delta jumped his time a little bit, didn't realize, a 1:12.5. Gets within almost exactly 2/10 of Timger. He's coming out for probably his second flying lap, 8 minutes left. We'll jump on board with your championship leader, Hines, who had a little bit of an incident on his first flying lap. Didn't damage the car completely to a tire. He did lose his whole front wing, but was given a chance to actually continue qualifying. Ooh, you can see he had to slow up a little bit more than you usually do. He almost hit that inside curb, or inside wall, may I say. Coming through this flying little chicane, and then another chicane. You can take a lot of curb here to the penultimate corner. Hard on the brakes. Take as much corner as you can. Carry as much throttle as you can through the final corner. Hit the DRS. Hit that throttle. And it looks like it's going to be a 114 for Hines. That puts him P5. Jumps everyone in the 115s. But a pretty big gap from P4 all the way to P5. Almost a second and 3/10 separating those two. I do think qualifying is going to play a very big factor in the race. I mean, it always does at Monaco, but with a wet race, that's going to be big. I've seen a couple of yellow flags from TAC Delta. He might just be taking the lap a little slow. Yeah, he's just taking the lap a little slow. Oh, you shouldn't have mentioned that, Camo. Now I'm gonna check in with you every lap to see if you got damage. You can't bring that to my attention. Now I'm curious. I mean, considering your pace, you're P6 right now, Camo. Only 2/10 off the championship leader Hines, so clearly your pace isn't as bad as you think it is. Or maybe you think your pace is fine. It's just, you know, Monaco walls is all. Probably only last one lap. Look, it's going to be raining, so just take it a little more chill than you would usually do. Like, you take it chill at Monaco, but don't take it, like, you know, just take it very chill. Just keep the car out of the wall. TAC Delta locks up a little bit, but purple sector 1 for the Williams driver. Haven't seen such great pace from TAC Delta in a while. At least when I commentated at the early part of the season, TAC just seemed to be a little bit slower than his teammate Northern Canuck, but Canuck with his incident in qualifying, and it's up to TAC Delta to see if he can grab pole position for that Williams team. Let's see what his Sector 2 time is. Another, oh my, okay. That was a massive crash for the Williams driver. My goodness, both wheels off the car. He was up almost 4/10 on his time, but he just missed his braking point on the fast chicane. Flew into that right side wall, flew into the left hand wall after, and that was a massive crash for TAC Delta. He still is P2 with his current time, but that was a ferocious hit. We're on board with Logan now. I do believe Sparkplug started his lap. Sparkplug, apparently a purple sector 1, taps the wall. A little bit of a drift. Oh my goodness. I think Sparkplug. Oh yeah, Sparkplug got a little bit of right front wing damage, so he still's got time to come in. Logan, a little bit of a drift. Up 8/10 for Logan. This will put him on pole position if it stays the same. 1:11.6. Jumps pole position by almost, what is that, almost 8/10? What a fantastic lap for the Alfa Romeo driver. That is, I mean, that would put him almost, I think, P5 or P6 in the Tier 1 race. That is incredible pace. And he's going to still have time for another lap. Fantastic stuff, and I believe everyone else is in the pits, so we can take a little bit of a breather and catch our breath. If anyone is watching the stream who is an admin by chance, if you want to ping that the live stream is up, because obviously Tier 1 didn't have a stream today, but Tier 2 does, and these guys definitely deserve to get some viewership. Fantastic racers in this tier, so if any admins are watching and want to... Actually, can I at everyone? I don't think I can. Oh, maybe I can. Hold up. Let me post this. Hold up, yes. Alright. Notifications out. Everyone is coming out. Logan didn't go into the pit lane. I mean, he still has time to come in, but it's going to be close. I'm not sure why he's going for another lap. As I say that, he's up 3/10. Don't mind me. Never mind. Don't listen to anything I say. Clearly, ERS doesn't matter here very much. Logan is on a flyer right now, up 3/10. What can the Alfa Romeo driver do through Sector 2? I'm very curious what his delta is going to be. Because this man is flying, and I think these are used softs. Oh, what a snap of oversteer there. And now he's down 3/10. Don't mind the tire that's just floating in the middle of the circuit there. Logan was up 3/10 there. He's got to come into the pit. He hasn't come into the pits. Logan, your fuel. You got no ERS. Your tires are used. All right. Well, not sure what the decision is with Logan, but oh, we jumped a Camo Banana. No wing for the Alfa Romeo driver. That is his qualifying over. He does not have enough time to go into the pit lane and put on a new wing and fresh tires. So that is his qualifying over. Let me just bring up the stream. All right. Timgra is on his outlap. Sparkplug also on an outlap. Hines has decided to not come out for another lap, so he will be starting P5. Camo Banana retires at the pool section. He did not have a front wing, and it looks like he was just unable to keep the car on track. And that is another retirement in this Tier 2 qualifying session. Dookie Hoser is on his final flying lap. He's up almost 2/10, but he's going to need a little bit more of that to pass Camo Banana and maybe even Hines. What does Dookie Hoser have left in the tank for Sector 3? A little bit of a snap. Looks like it's going to be a low 115, a 114.8 does in fact jump Hines. That pushes the championship leader down to P5 and Camo Banana, or P6, and Camo Banana down to P7. Timgra about to start his final lap, cutting it close, 24 seconds. That's closer than I've seen a lot of people. Sparkplug just started his, taps the wall a little bit. That's going to cost him a bit. He didn't get any damage, so he might be able to improve, but he's going to have to improve for almost a second, more than a second, to get up to tag delta. Oh, another little tap, and I think Sparkplug's qualifying is over. I don't think he's going to be able to improve. Yeah, there is a tire on the track, Camo. There's, I believe that's Tac Delta's Williams tire just sitting there floating. But we're on board with Timgra, only 200ths down on his irregular time. He is locking up a little bit, but there's a lot of track left for this man to try and, maybe challenge for pole. Logan's got an incredible lap. Timber's going to have to pull something out of his butt if he wants to get anywhere near that Alfa Romeo. What does he have in store for Sector 2? That looked like he carried a lot of speed through there. That looks like a time gain. If that isn't a time gain, I'll eat my shoe. Well, guess I'm eating my shoe. He's down a 10th. Looks like he gets a lot of speed through there. Penultimate corner. He's on the throttle, pretty good amount. Brakes a little bit, back on throttle. Very straight there. He's got to improve somewhere, right? And he does. That final sector, he gains almost 3/10, jumps to a 112.2, but nowhere close to Logan's time. Qualifying is over. Sparkplug's in the pit. Dookie's over. Hines is over, and that is your qualifying over for your 10 Tier 2 drivers. I won't deny, Logan, that it's a pretty fun track. Like, not counting, how incredibly skilled and incredibly tenacious you have to be to tackle this track and not get damage for 39 laps, but it is a fun track to race around when you actually got it handled. I dislike tracks that don't have many overtaking spots. Just not my forte. But your top three, Logan, the Alfa Romeo, a 111.6, that is P1, Timgra P2, Tac Delta P3, Sparkplug P4, Dookie Hoser P4, Dookie Hoser P5, I just said Dookie Hoser twice, Hines P6, Camo P7, Northern Canuck P8, Monkey Phil P9, and Tafer P10. He was not able to set a qualifying lap due to his qualifying ban. And now, ladies and gentlemen, look at that. Monaco in the wet. These Tier 2 guys are going to have their hands full. If Monaco wasn't hands-on already, they got to do it in the wet. I'm not sure if this is interwets or full wets. That looks like pretty heavy rain. So if anyone in the Tier 2 game or in the Tier 2 race is actually watching the stream, send me just an @ in general to let me know if it's interweather or wet weather. Full wet. Oh boy. Oh boy. You guys are in for a treat. Jackie, come on. Cheer on your Tier 2 guys. They'll be fine. As long as they, don't crash into walls and lose traction in like every corner because it's raining. Apart from that, they're fine. They'll be perfectly fine. I believe in my Tier 2 guys. I would make a prediction, but I don't think predictions are out the window. Monaco in the wet, just 6 DNFs. I'm pretty sure Tier 1 had more DNFs, and that was in the dry, Jackie. So, I mean, I'm open for no DNFs, but I think that's asking a lot here. It would be fantastic if no one DNF'd and Tier 2 just dumps on everyone. We had a full wet race and none of us DNF'd. What do you guys have to say? That'd be quite the story, but I mean, let's be realistic. I think a couple of people are going to DNF. It's, it's Monaco. It's bound to happen. But before the race gets underway, I will remind everyone of the standings. Hines is leading the championship by 24 points over Timgra. Jimmy Pullup is not here, who is 59 points down from Hines, and Northern Canuck, who's down 99 points, can make some pretty big gains on his championship rival of Jimmy Pullup. So I would pay attention to Northern Canuck. I'd pay attention to Timgra. I'd pay attention to Hines. Some pretty close battles going on. If I go through the rest of the field, TAC Delta has a pretty big gap to Noob, but TAC Delta looks like he's got some solid pace here. So I can maybe see some points gains there. Dutch is not racing. Tilwick is not racing. Sin is not racing. Grayson is not racing. Sparkplug is racing. So even if Sparkplug, I believe, finishes P10 last, he's going to jump his teammate and Sin. And if he has an incredible result, maybe he'll jump Tilwick and Dutch. So yeah, lots of potential standings changes here. But we're going to jump. Guys have still not started the race. Oh, as I say that, no formation lap, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, full wet racing at Monaco is underway. Got to bring up all this stuff. I don't think we need the telemetry for now. No one die. Everyone take it nice and clean. Beautiful stuff. Everyone's through turn 1. It is full. It's weird full wet weather. It's like, it's just really cloudy. Like, it doesn't look like it's actually really dark. To go through the field here, I don't see any, I don't see anything. Oh, this is a beautiful shot. Love this. Everyone bunching up. Oh, a little bit of contact between Camo and Hines. Not much, though. I mean, it's so hard to get through there when there's cars that are a bit slower than you. But everyone gets through nice and clean. Logan leading the field already by a second. Timgra second behind. TAC Delta 9/10 behind. Sparkplug a second and a bit. Dookie Hoser right on the tail of Sparkplug, 4/10. Hines cuts through, Camo. Oh, little bit of contact. I do believe Tafer may have tapped the back of Monkey Phil, but no harm, no foul. Tafer waited for Monkey to get going. So we jump back to the front of the field. Logan up 2.4 seconds. Looks like this man has some serious pace in that Alfa Romeo, but nothing is set in stone. We still got a long race, and there it is, our first not disqualification, but DNF. Monkey Phil into the wall, and that is left with 9 drivers. Monkey Phil lost, just wasn't able to stop the car in time on the penultimate corner, drove into it, looked almost straight on to me, so a terrible result for Monkey Phil, but I mean, I know some people will say that not having to race Monaco in full wet for 39 laps is a little bit of a grace, so that is for you guys to decide. You're back at Portugal, Jackie. Love to see it. The more drivers in races, the better. What is your position in the championship if you want to see, Jackie? I could let you know. You are... You're P15 right now, 61 points. P9 to P19 is separated by 45 points. 46. So, all of you guys can shift a lot of positions. Dookie Hoser, lap 2, already a 3-second time penalty. I think we're going to see a little bit more of that because the track limits here aren't too bad, but it's raining. It's going to be tricky to get these cars stopped in parts like the chicane after the bridge. But we jump on board with Logan, and I'm not going to lie, Timgra is flying here. He was down like 2.5 seconds. He's now down to 1.6. So either Logan is struggling a little bit, or Timgra has just picked up some pace and his tires are getting a little toasty. We do have a pass. Northern Canuck is past the Haas of Dookie Hoser. Oh, Dookie Hoser does not have a wing at all. I think we know how that pass happened. Dookie's just going to have to take the car in nice and smooth, get that changed, put on another set of wet tires, and keep on trucking. Ooh, it looks like Timgra had a little bit of a rough exit. Oh, and Logan, you could see, got so close to that outside wall. That was probably millimeters. Oh, Dookie Hoser. Another 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. That is up to 6 seconds in 3 laps. Not the start that you want, especially with his damage. The gap does seem to fluctuate between the top two. 1.6 seconds, it drops to the lowest, and then it jumps kind of like 2+ seconds. Timgra, fastest lap of the race, a 1:34. You can see Logan takes that flying left-hander really wide. He loses a lot of time. He just lost like almost 2/10 through that flying left. Not sure if it's maybe just hard to stop the car from going wide a little bit, but Timgra now 1.3 seconds back. Now, we can mention deltas all we want. There's no DRS, and it's Monaco, so Timgra's going to have to catch Logan out making a mistake. That's the... See, like a big snap like that, if Timber can get a good launch, he can maybe make a pass on Logan. But it's gonna be tricky to make a pass here. It's already so hard in the dry, and imagine in full wet conditions. I mean, Godspeed to these Tier 2 drivers. They're doing pretty well so far. I mean, sure, we've had Monkey Phil DNF earlier, but, I mean, everyone else seems to be going. Tag Delta, you see that big snap of oversteer. Everyone else seems to be going pretty good. Pretty big gaps between almost everyone, but the top two... Oh, and as I say, Timgra catching out Logan on a mistake. Logan overshot the corner by a good mile. And Timgra is your new leader of the race. That was, oh my god, what a save by Timgra and what a move by Logan to not spin him there. That was ridiculously close. Timgra overshot the corner, drifted a little bit. Logan went into the side of him just a tiny bit. Turned Timgra a tiny bit. Logan backed off. Oh my god, look at Timgra's drifting. We're not racing F1 anymore, gentlemen. This is Need for Speed. Oh, a little bit of a tap. No damage for Logan on the Alfa Romeo. That section, I can't believe. I don't even want to know how tricky that section is in full wet. But these two, look at everyone drifting. My goodness. Timgra and Logan, their battle, though, has brought Tech Delta back into the mix. He's only 1.3 seconds back. Seems to be almost a 3-car battle for the lead now. So you go through the rest of the field, I mean, a 5-second gap to Sparkplug. Hines is at 2. Canucks 5 seconds back. Tafer without a full front wing. He's going to have to get that changed. Camo Banana looks like he had to pit. And Dookie Kozer, of course, had to pit. We saw his incident where he lost his full front wing. He's got 6 seconds of time penalties. Timgra is starting to pull a bit of a gap. Look at the, oh my god, the drifts for Logan. You saw in the POV from Timgra's, like he was full on drifting there, and Tag Delta is now only 6/10 back. Logan just looked like he had pace out of the world here compared to even Timgra, but the wet weather may be catching out Logan a tiny bit. Tag Delta is on his rear diffuser, and Tafer, of course, not surprised, he's in the pit lane to change his front wing. You can see, look at the water in the pit lane. That is some heavy rain. Timgra slides there, almost taps the wall with his left rear tire. Through the tunnel section where it's all dry. I'm sure it's actually really tricky. I know in F122 that section was really tricky, where the conditions were just completely different, where, you know, the track was completely dry in the tunnel and then it's full wet out. I mean, I think I had a crash then. I was leading a Monaco race in the full wet, and I went into the bridge, did the slight right-hander, and we do have a yellow flag. I do believe Sparkplug had a little bit of an incident, no damage, so he probably just lost it a little bit in the chicane. Oh my god, you can see how much that McLaren is snapping. Almost looks like the Red Bull at Singapore today. That thing was not enjoying itself, and Logan is into the pit lane. Changes his front wing. I do believe we missed Logan getting damage. You had wing damage that whole time. Yikes. Okay, that explains why you were losing so much time there. I didn't notice it. But Logan out into the race, P6 on fresh wet tires. Now, I do believe because it's a full wet race, technically you don't have to pit. You can stay on your first set of full wets, but, I mean, I highly doubt any of these drivers are going to do that, because the wets at the end of the race, you're basically going to be driving on ice. Oh, and Dookie Hoser has crashed coming out of the first corner, and Tafer also had an incident. He loses a little bit. He lost his front left end plate. He's going to have to come back in, and we are now down to 8 drivers. I have just been informed by Camo that it actually is going to dry at the end of the race. So it's almost a mirror image of what Tier 1 had. Tier 1 had full sun for qualifying and the race. But at the end of the race, there was like a 5-10 minute warning of rain coming. So I don't know. Maybe the Tier 2 guys are like the F2 guys, where maybe they they would race after the F1 guys, and now they're the ones stuck in the rain. Timgra is into the pit lane, putting on inters. Timgra testing out the inters. This could be interesting to notice. I haven't really noticed a change in the rain. I mean, it doesn't look as heavy as it was when we started, but Timgra doesn't really lose much there. Comes out P3 behind his championship rival Heinz. Tack Delta and the Williams now leads. And we'll see what pace those inters have. They're going to be a bit cold. So we'll compare Timgra's pace to Canuck. Around 1.6 seconds as we stand. And we'll see if the inters are any better. It does look like it. Sparkplug was just in the pit lane. Let me bring up the tires. So Camo Banana and Tafer have all come in for inters. Sparkplug just entered the pits. I do believe he exited the pits. I do believe he put on wets. He did. So maybe people are feeling different about the tires. Some people putting on inters. Some people putting on wets. Logan put on wets. Oh, big snap as we catch Logan there. I do believe the inters are the play, though. Look at the gap between Timgra and Canuck now. It is basically doubled to 4 seconds. You gotta remember, Canuck, when we said just earlier in the lap, was 1.6 seconds down, and I don't think Canuck has damage. And Logan jumps into the pits. Unfortunate for him that he had to repair his wing just 2 laps earlier, but now he's throwing on the inters. But we do have some drivers staying on the wets. Tack, Delta, and Heinz, your 2 front runners currently, are still on the wet tire. But I think the pace of Timgra and others have kind of swayed a couple drivers to throw on the inters. Although Timgra isn't making up a huge amount of time, he's actually losing time to Heinz. So maybe we're at a little bit of a crossover point right now. I'm not 100% sure. But we'll see how this unfolds. Yeah, Timgra is kind of gaining a little bit. He was at 5.3, he's at 4.8. Heinz was around 6 seconds to Tack, so that gap is kind of just stagnant right now. Yeah, Timgra up down to 4 seconds now. He was at 5 seconds just a corner ago. So it does look like the inters are the play. Tack Delta into the pit lane. Those are going to be inters for the Williams driver. Heinz in the Alpine decides to stay out, and Logan a 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. Timgra fastest lap of the race, a 1:29.1 on those fresh inters. Canuck into the pit lane as well to put on the... Oh my god, look how fast that pit crew came out of the pit lane. That was something. Northern Canuck putting on the inters, had to put on a new wing. Camo, but now you can see the time differences. Camo up almost 3 seconds from his previous fastest lap. Sparkplug on the inter. So the last man to put on the inter tire is going to be Heinz. Oh, and Canuck, I do believe, came out of the pit lane too aggressively. Gets a 5-second time penalty for corner cutting, which is basically, I think, if you go over the pit lane line way too early. So that's going to hurt. Oh, and Heinz, your leader, a 3-second time penalty. I think Heinz has to get off those, he's got to get off those wet tires very quick, because the inters are just, they are just flying right now. And Tafer picks up a 3-second time penalty just ahead of the leaders. Another wing gone for the AlphaTauri driver, but he's still hanging in there. He's still P8. Heinz decides to stay out. He doesn't want to throw on those inters. I think what Heinz might be doing here is Heinz might be delaying just a tiny bit so that he can maybe throw on one pair of inters for the whole race. But, I mean, it's not working for him. Timgra, right on the tail of his championship rival. It's been the tail of these two for Tier 2. And right now, I think Timbra's got the advantage. Logan, a 127.7. That beats Timbra's fastest lap by nearly a second. Timbra looking for a move, decides to back out. Sparkplug with a 3-second time penalty. So the time penalties in the past 2 laps have racked up here. Tafer got one, Sparkplug got one, Canuck got one, Logan got one, and Hines got one. Everyone was behaving themselves a bit, but now we've only got 3 drivers without time penalties. Timgra, Tack, Delta, and Camo Banana, who just comes into the pit lane, might be changing a wing here. Full wing gone for Camo. When Timgra looking for a move on the inside, this could be sketchy. Hines gives him space. Hines decides to back out. I think that's a smart decision. I mean, Hines, I think, has got to go on the inters here because he's just losing seconds after seconds of time here. I think it's time for that Alpine driver to throw on the inters. No, it's not. Hines is going to try and stick with it on the wet tire. And with his 3-second time penalty, he is net behind Tac Delta, but I think Tac Delta is going to catch him relatively soon. We do have a yellow flag for Camo, and Camo has lost another wing. Unfortunate turn of events for the Alfa Romeo driver, but he's still got to keep going. We catch a big snap for Sparkplug there coming out of the slow chicane. Northern Canuck, of course, has that 5-second time penalty. Logan has his 3-second time penalty, but he's gaining on the cars ahead pretty quickly. Tac Delta, he's shrunk that lead now, 1.1 seconds separating P2 and P3. I think Tac Delta might time this where he can make the move on the final corner, because he's just going to have so much more acceleration and grip coming out of that corner compared to Hines. Let's see what happens. Tac Delta trying to pressure, maybe make Hines make a little bit of a mistake. Hines not biting. I mean, the strategy call here from Hines is sus, and there it is. He loses the back end, snaps. Tac Delta's passed even before the final corner, and Hines finally makes the decision to come into the pit lane for new intermediates. His pace will skyrocket here on these new tires. Looks like he's going to jump out ahead of Northern Canuck, so not a free pit stop, but he has time to catch up to Logan here. Actually, Hines is cutting it close. He's actually not going to get past. Tafer goes past, but Tafer, he's not racing Tafer. Tafer's a lap down. The man that Hines is racing is Northern Canuck, right behind him, and those tires are going to be warm. We'll stay on board here. Timgra, his gap from P1 to P2 is 6.7 seconds. We'll keep an eye on that gap. Does Northern Canuck have a faster pace than your championship leader? Oh, and Tafer. Oh, I think Tafer was just letting them by. Good stuff by him. And now these two, the closest battle on track. Just over a second separating these two. Now, if we look at the standings, once again, Timgra's going to get a pretty big points increase here if he finishes P1 and Hines finished. Oh, Hines taps the wall there. That looked like a pretty big hit, but no damage to the front end plate of that Alpine, so he gets a free pass there. But as I mentioned, Timgra, I do believe the gap of points to... Oh, and Hines actually comes into the pit lane, so he may have had a tiny amount of damage, and he decides to change it, but unfortunately... Okay, the wing does get changed. Sometimes the game doesn't like to change it if it's really, really low damage. But Hines decides to change it. I mean, he only loses one position. But I mean, that one position's pretty big. I do believe that if the positions stay the same here, Timgra will gain almost, I think, over 20 points on Hines here. So Hines wants to probably pick up the pace a bit, maybe catch Northern Canuck ahead, maybe Logan if Logan makes an error. You never know. Last time we saw the gap between Timgra and Tag Delta was 6.7 seconds. That has increased nearly 8/10 now. But why don't we take a little bit of time off me speaking to you guys, and we can stay on board with your current race leader there as Timgra. Big drift coming out of the first corner. We'll stay on board with him for a lap as he takes us through wet Monaco. As we go on board with Timgra, he has a huge drift, and he has to get that car turned around and loses 2 positions. Timgra with a big error there. His pace looks strong. He might be able to get those positions back, but he's going to have to stay focused here. It obviously leaves drivers a little bit tilted when they make a mistake like that, so Timgra's got to get his head down, and he's got to look ahead. Oh, big snap. Timgra being very careful on the brakes now. I don't believe he has damage. It doesn't look like it, but now your new race leader, Tac Delta, in the Williams, up nearly 4.5 seconds on Logan, and Logan has this 3-second time penalty, so that is really a 7.8 second gap separating P1 and P2. And Tac Delta, your new fastest lap of the race, a 1:26.8. Looks like he was pushing a little bit there with the ERS. Why don't we take a little look? Yep, 38%. And you could see Logan had a big snap, and Timgra further behind overshoots the corner. Another mistake, but no damage for the AlphaTauri driver, so he does not have to pit. Not sure. I think Timgra may be driving a little bit tilted right now. He had his mistake coming into the corner we are just heading into, lost 3 positions, and now he overshot turn 1. So Timbra's just got to get his head down. He does appear to be the fastest driver on track, but he's got to get that head down. And speaking of, Hines sets a new fastest lap in the Alpine. Your championship leader showing he's still got pace. As I say that, big snap of oversteer for Hines. Taps the right-hand side of his car, or left-hand side of his car. No damage, though. And Camo Banana picks up a 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. At this point where he's at, I don't think that's going to affect him too much. Getting track limits getting track limit penalties and surviving are definitely the way to go at this point. I don't think that matters too much in the end. And Logan is into the pit lane. Is he getting a wing changed? He is getting a wing changed. Unfortunate for Logan. I mean, these wet conditions are they're just so unpredictable. So Timgra takes back P2. But look at the gap from P1 to P2. 18.2 seconds. And we are not even at the halfway point of this race. So, why don't we try this again? Tac Delta, my man, in the Williams, leading the race by 18 seconds. Show us how it's done in the wet at Monaco. As we hop back on board, TAC Delta has increased his gap to nearly 20 seconds from Timgra. I don't believe Timgra has any damage. I don't believe anyone has any damage. Hines is AI'd right now. I do believe he left the session while we were on board with TAC Delta, so hopefully he gets back into the session. I will check if I have Hines added, just in case. But I don't believe I do. I can look in the PRL chat. There is Hines. I cannot invite him because I do not have him added as a friend, unfortunately. So hopefully he manages to get back into the session. To stay on board with Timgra. Your past race leader, it looked like it was his race to lose. He was up nearly 10 seconds in the lead, but now down 19. He managed to get back P2 due to Logan having to go in. Oh, we do have a pass. Logan gets by the Williams of Northern Canuck, denying the Williams a double podium as of right now. Logan does seem to have very good pace, but has had a few incidents and brushes with the wall. Just in case, I will, I am going to add Hines as a friend and invite him back to the session, just in case. I'll send him a friend request first. Let's see if he accepts that. Now on board with Logan, as you can see, his pace 1.7 seconds up from his fastest lap, and his fastest lap is already incredibly quick. This may be Hines as added me as a friend, so I do believe he may have lagged out of the session. Let me get him an invite here. Oh, I can't invite him because I do believe only the admins can invite people. Logan, a 1:24.7 for him. That's fastest lap by nearly 2 seconds. I do believe the host for this session is Northern Canuck. So Northern Canuck is the only driver that can add Hines back to the session. And I don't believe that Canuck has the stream open. I mean, Canuck's got a 35-second gap to Northern Canuck. So let me send him an invite, and maybe he can go ghosted just for a tiny bit, just to see if we can get our man Hines back in the session. Sent him a message. Hopefully that pops up on his screen. I plowed your mom. That's a fantastic name. Thank you. You can send him a message as well. I sent him one, so hopefully he saw that. Maybe he'll be able to pause and send an invite out. But yeah, back on board. The gap between TAC Delta and Timgra has not changed really at all. 19.5 seconds separates the two. And, I mean, I think they're going to go the rest of the race on those inters. I mean, it's going to be, good God, it's going to be 31 lap old inters for Timger at the end of the race. So, I mean, they're not going to be very happy, Inters. And TAC Delta's going to be on 29 lap old ones. So, they're not going to be very happy. But, I mean, they can do it. I think it's going to be very difficult for both of them. But, we'll have to see. Northern Canuck 14 seconds back of Logan. Logan 1 second back of Canuck. A battle for P2, and you can see Timgra is struggling. I mean, he's on way fresher inters, but Timgra has just not been able to keep the pace that he had earlier in the race. Let's see if Logan may make a move through turn 1, and we just had a swapping of positions. Sparkplug, I believe. Yep, Sparkplug jumped Hines due to the AI. Timgra defending for his life here against Logan with the much faster tire. Timgra's only 2/10 slower than his fastest lap. Just shows how fast Logan is going. He is all over the back of him. And yet, the gap between TAC Delta and Timgra has basically stayed the same. Is Logan going to go for a move in the tunnel section? He's very close. I don't think he's going to go for it, though. Doesn't break in time. Takes out Timgra. It doesn't look like either driver has damage. Logan continues. Timgra now P3. That's a blatant... That's going to be a blatant report to the stewards. I mean, not much you can do there. Logan just was unable to brake faster than Timgra. I'm not sure if Timgra has any wing damage. I'm not sure if the league runs lower damage, but unfortunate for Timgra. I mean, not much he could do. Logan just outbraked himself. Drove into the back of him, spun him around. It looked like Logan was going to wait, but Timger had to get the car completely turned around, so he kept going. And now your new P2 is Logan, but Logan does have that 3-second time penalty, so maybe Timger will be able to keep within those 3 seconds, but TAG Delta having a stroll right now. 23 seconds up from P2. And Camo Banana, as we just saw, on board with TAC Delta. DNFs going into the chicane. Unfortunate for Camo. He was surviving. He was P8. He was surviving the wet weather, and unfortunately, just cuts the corner a little bit too much. I mean, you can't blame yourself too much, Camo. You went 23 laps. That's more than a lot of people could say. But now down to 7 drivers. Tafer, your P7. Hines, your championship leader, P6, who has been unable to get into the lobby again. Sparkplug, driving without a wing. And he hasn't pitted for one. He didn't have a wing before, so maybe he's just going. I'm not sure. Northern Canuck, and Hines has managed to get back into the session. So Hines will be able to chase down Sparkplug and get that P5 back once he takes control. Northern Canuck 54 seconds ahead of Sparkplug. Timgra now 4 seconds back of Logan. Logan 21 seconds back of TAC. Has taken about 2 seconds off TAC Delta's lead, but we've got about 15-ish laps left to go. And I mean, TAC Delta's tires are going to suffer. I mean, I think TAC Delta can pit here. I think TAC Delta puts on fresh inters, and basically forces Logan to be behind him with slower tires. I think that might be the safe option for TAC, because Logan's got the 3-second time penalty, so he's really at like 24 seconds. So, safe option for TAC. Get to about a point where you feel like the tires are dying, put on new tires, basically a free pit stop, and continue the rest of the race. I missed camos. Took the chicane too hot and flew into the barrier on the inside. Yep. That's... Honestly, that's the thing with the chicane. The chicane isn't, like, super hard because if you miss the corner, there's not much on your right side. The problem is when you try and take it too tight and you clip your tire on the inside left wall and it just destroys your car. I've had that happen to me, Camo, so no harm, no foul. And Hines has now retired on track? I don't think Hines was able to take control of his car. So he decided to retire on track? Can you retire on track if you're not controlling the car? I'm not sure. Timger's about to go by him. He's in that like left corner. And yeah, his car's gone. The championship leader, Hines, out of the session, a willing retirement, I think, or if his car was unable to be taken control of. But now just 6 drivers, and I mean, Tafer's going to have to do basically almost a whole lap here to get by Hines, but that's going to be P6 for Tafer. Tafer, we've seen he's had a couple of incidents. And Hines has joined the session again. I'm not sure what's going on with Hines. If Hines is joining back, I don't think he retired his car willingly, so that's going to be really unfortunate for him. TAC Delta's lead has shrunk a tiny bit once again. 18.8 seconds separates P1 from P2. Not the biggest gap we've seen this weekend. If you guys watched the Prem race, Victor decided to pull back his antics and won the race by nearly 40 seconds. And Sparkplug on the medium tire, trying the medium tire in the wet conditions. I don't think it's the right time for mediums, my friend. No damage on that McLaren, but it looks like it's going to be a tough drive. Then again, the mediums look pretty grippy. And Logan, another 3-second time penalty. So now his 6 seconds is now going to take him behind Timgra, because Timgra is now 5 seconds within. And I mean, even if Logan does manage to pull that gap away, I mean, there's going to be an incident report for Logan because he did drive straight into the back of Timgra and spin him out. Logan's gap to TAC is now 16 seconds, but with that extra 6 seconds, it's really only 22. So, I think Logan's goal here is he's going to try and build as much of a gap as he can from Timgra. I mean, Timgra might have to change tires, because those tires are definitely not having a fun time. I'm curious of Sparkplug's pace right now. I mean, a 140 is definitely not what you want to see, but let's keep an eye on his sector times. Because he did have a moment, I think, coming out of Sector 1, right? He had his spin. So let's see if the dry tire is actually working a little bit here. Up 3/10. Maybe the dry tire is starting to kick in a little bit here. Tafer with a 3-second time penalty. Not really a big issue right now. He's 25 seconds back of the nearest car, so if you have to cut the corner to survive, cut the corner to survive. Let's see. Sparkplug's pace is going to be here as he enters the very slow middle chicane and then exits the Sector 2 timing sheet. Curious what he is going to set. DRS is enabled, so the track is drying. Sparkplug up 8/10 on his fastest lap, so it looks like the dry tire may be the way to go here. Sparkplug went on a little bit early, but I mean he's a lap down behind TAC Delta, so even if he does catch Northern Canuck, it's really just going to be like, hey, I caught you on the dry tire. So Logan has dropped once again the gap to 15 seconds. And it does look like Tafer, I think Tafer just slowed down to let Northern Canuck, TAC Delta by. So good on him once again. And TAC's not in yet. Is Logan going to jump into the pit lane and put on some dry tires? Because, I mean, Logan's pace on the dries looked incredibly quick. And he is into the pit lane. I assume he's going to put on a medium tire. Maybe a soft. Timgra into the pit as well. Matches the driver ahead of him. Oh, and Sparkplug retires in the chicane. And now we're down to just half the field. Timgra and Logan both put on soft tires for the end of the race. I mean, how far back are they going to be from TAC? It's going to be like 30, 40 seconds? Yep, 37.9 seconds. And I mean, of course, with Logan's penalty, that's more like 44. Timgra just behind that Alfa Romeo. And Tafer now takes P5. Tafer has just been, hey man, I may not be the fastest guy out here, but I'm not the one hitting the walls and dying. So Tafer, just due to survival, is now P5. I don't think he's going to jump more positions unless of another retirement, but that is a top 5 finish for the AlphaTauri driver just by not dying and staying on track. And that, I mean, look at the track now. It looks perfectly dry. So, I mean, TAC Delta, you got a free pit stop here, buddy. Don't think it's the right decision to stay on those inters. I think he's got to throw on the softs. Because, I mean, his gap is dropping tremendously. And you see he locks up a bit because, I mean, those tires are not it. Timgra has dropped a little bit to Logan, but he's still within those that 6-second time penalty. So Timgra doesn't have to pass the car in front of him. You just got to stay within 6 seconds. The gap to TAC isn't dropping as quick as I thought it would, but it's still dropping nearly a couple of seconds per lap. Oh, you can see the sparks where Camo retired his car on the corner of the chicane entry. For some reason, it's still sparking. You know, not surprised there. And like we said, look at the gap. 29 seconds now. Like, yeah, TAC takes the smart decision. Suzuki comes into the pit lane, gets a free pit stop. Going to put on the softs. He's got a 6-second window added to Logan's time due to his penalty, and Timgra's 3 seconds back of Logan. So, yeah, I mean, I'd say that's the safe decision, Suzuki. Like, if it was raining a little bit, sure, you could stay on the inters, but, I mean, look how dry it is now. I'd say it's a very easy decision to just throw on the softs and end the race there. Oh, no, TAC Delta, TAC's been very quick this race. He was P3 in qualifying. Oh, he was P2 in qualifying, actually. He crashed in qualifying, but he was P2. He wasn't that far off from Logan's pace. Logan, I'd say on the dry tire, probably the fastest guy on track, but he's got to pass TAC. He's got a 4-second gap just to get behind TAC Delta, and he's got the extra 6 seconds. So, I mean, that gap's really 10 seconds. So, TAC just got to keep it out of the wall, and this is his race to win. Oh, as I say that, big lockup for TAC Delta, not used to the dry braking point. Probably got a warning from that, but TAC Delta's been pretty good on his track limit penalties because no penalty there, so he's either got one more or two more. Right now, I think the biggest battle on track is Timgra. Timgra and Logan. Logan's got the 6-second time penalties. Let me just make sure it's not more than that. Yeah, 6 seconds. So 6 seconds separate, well, Logan from his actual time. Timgra is 4.6 seconds back. So he's got that 1.4 second gap, but even if he doesn't manage to stay within that gap, Timgra, I mean, I assume Timgra is going to report the, I want to say bump and run from Logan if we're being generous, but it was a full-out shunt. So, I mean, that's going to be reported. So that might be, you know, probably just an extra 5 seconds, maybe 25. Oh, and this changes things a little bit. Timgra, a 3-second time penalty for track limits. So now Logan is net ahead of Timgra, but if we still count the penalty that Logan will probably receive, which, I mean, I think they're going to be lenient and give him 5 seconds. I mean, Timgra's just got to stay within a gap here. Don't lose too much time. There's not much race left. They're about to hit lap 33. There we go. Tac Delta, fastest man on track, according to that lap, a 1:16.6. Has kept the gap to Logan to about 3.5, 3.6 seconds as of right now. I have seen a bunch of drivers attempt to, like, avoid that big tree root that's right there. I don't know about you guys, but I just drove over it the entire race. Like, sure, the bump seems scary, but I just drove over it. I don't know. I didn't see the point in, like, swerving to avoid it when I feel like you would lose more time doing that. Yeah, going through the rest of the quote-unquote field, Northern Canuck 43 seconds back of Timgra and Logan. And Tafer 40 seconds back of Northern Canuck. But like I said, Tafer has been the man to survive here. Everyone else who was faster than him, DNF'd. Tafer had some incidents. We saw them. He broke a couple of wings. Still on track, though. P5. Tac Delta, another fastest lap of the race. Logan decides to steal it back, though. 1:16.0. These two do seem to be pretty equal on pace. Maybe a little bit more on Logan's side. But because Tac Delta's pace is so good, the gap between him and Logan is still like 9.2 seconds. Logan has to somehow get past Tac and then get 6 seconds ahead of him and then try and field in what the penalty will be between him and Timgra. So, I mean, I think Logan's best gap here. A lot of people in the race. Yeah, not a super big field, but I mean it's Monaco, so that's not a big surprise. Big snap of oversteer from Logan there. Yeah, we started with 10. We're down to half. I mean, I don't want to say I'm not super surprised, considering that they were driving in full wet conditions for, like, 75% of the race. But I mean, I'd say the biggest looks like everyone can drive in here. I mean, yeah, everyone here is a very good driver. It's just Monaco in full wets is not a fun time. Why is this race so late? I mean, the race starts at 3:30 for Tier 2, so I mean, yeah, I mean, wet Monaco, you have to do 39 laps of 1 minute 30 plus seconds. I mean, it's usually more like 1:15. So, I mean, up until lap 26, 25, we were in full wet conditions, so... Well, yeah, it's 10 p.m. for you UK guys for sure, but for us East Coast and West Coast guys, it's really only about to be 5 and about to be 2. Once again, TAC Delta's gap to Logan, basically 3 seconds. Hasn't been up or down. Am I bored? Not really. I mean, am I bored compared to most Tier 2 races that I stream? I guess so. Because, I mean, usually we have 15, sometimes 20 drivers with plenty of battles to watch, where right now, I mean, it's not a huge gap, 3 seconds. I mean, it was pretty fun for the first half. I won't deny. But I mean, as of right now, unless there's like a retirement on track, right, or like a big mistake by some people, I mean, right now it's kind of just waiting for this to play out. If these drivers just keep it on track and their pace stays the same, I mean, it's going to be an easy win for TAC Delta. Logan, as of right now, is actually going to drop to P2 without factoring his incident penalty. So Timgra has pulled a little bit of pace out of that AlphaTauri's engine. So he will be net P2 as of right now. So I mean, I'd say that's the biggest thing to watch right now, is the gap between Logan and Timgra. But like I said, it's Monaco, so I mean, sure, there's only 3 laps left, but you know, anything can happen. You can never let yourself be too complacent at a track like this. Well, while we're watching everybody, why don't we? Tires don't really matter. You can see the pit stops. Oh, and Timgra actually gets by Logan. Logan appears to have a little bit of an incident with his wing. He has no front right end plate. So now he's well behind Timgra. I don't know if he spun, because he was only a second down from Timgra at the start of Sector 3. So I think he may have just tapped the wall and have been really slow in certain corners. I mean, you can see, look at the time he's losing. This could actually be pretty big for Northern Canuck, because I mean, not really. He's still 54 seconds down. Because, I mean, if Logan, let's say, gets the 25-second time penalty for a medium incident, which he might get because he full-on rammed Timgra and spun him. So, I mean, he's 53 seconds back. Logan's got the extra 6 seconds. So, I mean, it's not anything crazy. But, I mean, if Canuck somehow pulls, like, crazy amount of time, he could maybe get a podium if Logan gets a pretty bad penalty. But I don't know, it's a stretch. I think if that happens, Logan has to lose a lot more than just a front right end plate. And then again, you can see the times. His fastest lap was a 1:16. He's about to set like a 1:34. Yeah, unless Logan has a brutal final lap here, it's P3 pretty easy here. He's just got to keep the car out of the wall. I mean, Timgra was catching TAC Delta a little bit at the end, but I mean, he's got he still got his 3-second time penalty, so that's more like 7 seconds. But final lap, I'm not going to say anything because there's still, you can DNF anywhere here. Attack Delta through the penultimate corner, through the final corner, and Tack Delta in the Williams. A fantastic race for him. He is your Tier 2 Monaco winner. Took the lead under wet conditions and took it home nice and easy. Timgra in the AlphaTauri, he takes home P2. Logan with the 6-second time penalty. I mean, this could be close because he's only 32 seconds down from Canuck, and he's got the 6-second. Oh, look at that spin from Logan. Almost lost the car there. But Logan will take it home P3. Where will Canuck finish time-wise? He's at 31. He's at 30. Logan had a big snap here, so Canuck will make up, yeah, almost a second there. So a final gap. Oh, yep, the race is over because the other two drivers, or the other driver, was Tafer driver of the day. I'm going to say yes to that. Tafer, clearly he knew he didn't have crazy pace, but he stayed alive, so. Timgra broke way before the 200 mark. I mean, yeah, some guys break before, but I mean, you can say unfortunately, you can say fortunately, it is still the duty of the overtaking car to be careful and not to slam into the other car. But I think because of an incident like that, Logan, you're only really going to get a 5-second time penalty at most. I don't think they're going to give you a 25-second. So, all things considered, Tack Delta in the Williams is your winner. A great race for him. He's going to jump, I believe, a couple positions in the standings. Timgra, however, takes the fastest lap of the race and P2 with a 1:15.3. Logan, fantastic race, fantastic pace. Comes home P3, even with a penalty applied. I believe that is going to be his to lose. And Northern Canuck, P4 in the other Williams driver. So great day for the Williams teams in the constructor standings. And Tafer in the other AlphaTauri comes home P5, just surviving. He started last. Comes home P5. So great day for the Williams and the AlphaTauri team. And going through the rest of the field, Sparkplug in the dry, or in the McLaren, DNF'd. Hines in the Alpine, I think retired. I'm not sure what happened with him. Camo retired, or crashed on track. Dookie Hoser crashed on track. And Monkey Phil crashed on track as well. And that is your final top 10 result. Yeah, I mean, Monaco in the dry, I'd say, is just a better experience. It's already a tough track, so doing it in full wets is not it. And that, I mean, that was a really long race. I don't know if, I don't know how many of you stuck through the entirety of it, but, yeesh, that was a long one. So, without further ado, I mean, I do like to do interviews, but that was a long one, and I'm sure everyone just wants to get it over with. But, thank you for joining me, Gourd Sauce, in, Tier 2, round number 10. At Monaco. Finally over. All the tiers are past the dreaded Monaco. So now we're coming to the end of the season, folks. It's going to be a close one. Next week, France, our last sprint weekend. A strange track to have a sprint weekend, but that'll be fun. And then race 12, Portugal, race 13, Monza, and our finale of the season will be at Qatar. Thank you, Darth Crimson. You enjoy your day as well. But, yep, once again, that was me, Gourd Sauce. And I'll see you all guys next week, hopefully. I think I'll be here next week. I don't see anything that would stop me from being here, and I'll be streaming our Tier 2 guys take on the much less tricky but high-speed French circuit of Paul Ricard. So, once again, thank you for joining me. I've been Gourd Sauce. And once again, congratulations to TAC Delta, Timgra, and I can't believe I forgot Logan for their P1, P2, and P3, and I will see you guys next week. Thank you, and have a good one.